Well, TV pirating is on the rise. New research reveals that some of the world's most popular subscription TV shows are driving unprecedented levels of illegal downloads. Tru Optik, which tracks illegal downloads and peer-to-peer file sharing, found that Game of Thrones is king, being the most illegally downloaded show, accessed nearly 300 million times in the second quarter of the year. Now, The Big Bang Theory and Orange is the New Black are second and third, respectively, with around 16 million downloads. Tru Optik says the most downloaded shows belong to subscription services like HBO and Netflix, who are losing revenue as a result of this pirating. And for more on this, CCTV's Owen Fairclogh spoke to Tru Optik's chief executive and asked him why unauthorized TV file sharing is surging.
What we're seeing in terms of recent stuff, TV shows that have aired in the last 3 months, movies that have been in the theaters in the last 3 months, there's just too much of a delay and not a wide enough assortment of content for them to truly meet demand. I mean, you could quite frankly have Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and still not be able to watch most of the content that you want to watch.
So what do you think some of these companies are maybe inadvertently fueling the appetite for illegal downloads? Because Netflix, I mentioned, they allow you to download the whole season at once. It's led to the rise of what they call binge watching. Is that somehow fueling this kind of demand because you're offering people so much content all at once?
I think that's a great observation. I mean, people are impatient by nature, humans are, and I think that's why binge viewership of content is kind of been fueled. But what we're actually seeing, there's very specific evidence to show that by putting entire seasons of a particular show out, you're not actually giving the opportunity for casual viewers to kind of catch up and then allow for some of that demand for your content to be monetized. A very specific example of that is, say, ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We saw a lot of people discovered that show first on BitTorrent peer-to-peer sharing. And then ABC was able to monetize that demand that was created via their streaming. Whereas if House of Cards or Orange is the New Black from Netflix, if I discover episode 1 on peer-to-peer file sharing and determine that I like it, I don't have to wait for another week for that episode to come. There's really no motivation for me then to subscribe to Netflix because I can download the entire season in a matter of minutes right then and there.
And do you think there's a trade-off perhaps with these companies because they realize and they know that millions of people around the world are not paying for their content, but do they perhaps get in return what you call audience intelligence? They find out a little bit more about who's watching these shows and the age group and that kind of thing, and that could be potentially valuable information for the kinds of shows that they want to make?
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. So we're finding, specifically at Tru Optik, a lot of major media companies that have reached out to us over the last 6 months or so, basically saying they don't really have a lot of actionable audience intelligence from the traditional sources by which to make, proactive strategic decisions on content production or international licensing or pricing. And by getting the kind of granularity that they're able to get from digital media peer-to-peer sharing data, they're able to actually have more insight into making those decisions so they can actually better monetize their content through traditional means, whether it be streaming or digital download, on demand, or even traditional box office sales.
In the future, will these companies be able to somehow protect their content and stop people from not paying for it?
I think that we're ready, kind of on the cusp of that right now, in terms of from the business intelligence and market intelligence side, like I mentioned, with companies using the data that's created by this sharing to deliver better products or deliver them in better timing and pricing. And then even more interesting ways, which we're actually working with some of the major players in digital advertising and addressable TV advertising later this year in starting something called unmonetized demand targeting. We're specifically using that data and then information based on what people share or pirate to advertise to them immediately additional ways or other ways by which to consume that content for which that can be monetized.